it's still, when you're talking about 10 million people, that small percentage is a pretty big, multi-brigade level hit team operation.
You're absolutely right. And in fact, we should talk about Boston Breaks and the murder of that journalist.
Let's talk about that and talk about false flags, sir.
All right. Well, from where I sit, both the school in Connecticut and the Boston bombing were false flag operations. The school in Connecticut had been closed for 4 years. There were no students, no teachers, no parent-teacher association. The paramedics were not allowed into the school. From where I sit, that was a complete false flag. It was a drill. And we've already, not we, but others have exposed the actors that were involved, the financial relations with the families that were allegedly victimized, who had their homes bought and who were then given exit paths. All of that is on the record, but you don't see the media covering that. Boston bombing, for me, the truth teller was when the rabbis and the priests rushed to comfort the wounded, and they were not allowed to get near any of the wounded. That in intelligence we call an indicator. And then you add to that the fact that there were no wounded people being taken to the hospitals. And finally, you add to that the big to-do about the amputee. He turns out to be a hired actor for a company that specializes at putting amputees into battlefield simulations. False flag. Boston was a practice attempt to lock down an entire city.
We actually had our reporters on the ground. We got death threatened pretty seriously over that. And that's when a lot of heat got turned on against this operation. They got really upset. And they even had Secret Service, even though Obama wasn't there, going and telling our reporters on national news. It ended up getting televised, don't ask your question. And they told the reporters, don't look at this man's photos. Well, what we had was what appeared to be Kraft International. Yeah. Navy SEAL sheep dipped, even wearing the Punisher hats and the uniform. And some of the guys we identified in other photos of Kraft people, we're not saying they were involved, because they were all looking around like they didn't know what was happening. They all had black backpacks, it looked like, to create a bunch of decoys. Again, I'm not saying they were even involved. And then we had all this other stuff added to it. And the brothers saying, we didn't do it. They're chased down. They're killed. Lock down the city. Try to hunt him down. He pleads not guilty. They start killing their friends. I mean, let's elaborate on why you're saying false flag, because...
well, if you go to Phi Beta Iota and you look up Boston bombing, you'll get to all of the coverage that we've had. And when I say we, I'm a curator and I keep a hands-off distance, but I've got over 80 contributing editors, and some of them are quite extraordinary. But if you look up Boston bombing at Phi Beta Iota, you'll get everything. But if you go back to the actual bomb, it was a theatrical device. You don't buy gunpowder at a fireworks store to create a bomb. It just is not done. I had my explosive ordnance people look at this. Everybody laughed at this. This was school kid stuff. There was no bomb. There were no injuries. This was a false flag. And now we're starting to see 9/11 unravel. And Richard Gage has gotten on C-SPAN. And basically, the American public is starting to wake up. And all of these little things that they could have gotten away with are now starting to collapse because of the internet, because of guys like you, because of people like me and my contributing editors. And so I think we're coming to the end of the road here. I do believe, I really want to stress this, I think 95% of the people in the U.S. government are good people trapped in a bad system. But the last 5% are doing some evil, pathologically sick things, including murdering U.S. citizens. And that's the part that I'm starting to see some signs of encouragement. For example, and this is my last comment, the court has just finally refused to accept Attorney General assurances about secret state documents. And for the first time in modern history, the court is saying to the executive, you have to show us these secret documents. We will not let you make claims without showing us the documents. I believe the tide is turning legally against government misbehavior.
Wow, I got to tell you, we've got to have you back for a full hour, sir, just on false flags and also on your book. We're going to get into your book in a moment and take some calls. But look at how suddenly the head of Kraft International, the Navy SEAL, gets killed right after the Boston bombings at a shooting range and all of this. And again, that's a key part of the investigation, is all these Kraft guys out there who I never said were involved. There were clearly lots of decoy groups so that no one could catch whoever really detonated the simulant, which I showed to bomb experts, and they said, look, it just poofs. There's nothing even there.
Exactly.
Kind of like the underwear bomber was obviously drugged, brought on the plane. Our witnesses saw it, confirmed a month and a half later by two lawyers,
exactly
Mr. and Mrs. Haskell. And it's just, how do they think they'll get away with something this big and this obvious?
Look, I got to tell you, having been a spy for a long time and having worked in that environment, it is an environment characterized by being out of touch with reality. They're out of touch with real people. They're out of touch. Let me give you a simple example. Out of the 1,400 professors of Middle Eastern studies in the United States of America, CIA talks to maybe 14. And those 14 are the ones that are U.S. citizens with secret clearances. Okay, so they're beyond rose-colored glasses. These people are wearing an eye patch, and they have a pinhole on the other eye. They are literally out of touch. Nobody challenges them, and that's the problem. I testified to Senator Patrick Moynihan, God rest his soul, and I testified on secrecy and what secrecy does. Secrecy makes you stupid.
That's right. I want to go to some calls, but let's talk about, and I can't wait to read your book, open source everything, because when it's open source everything, you get the transparency, the truth will emerge very easily, and then there's such a deeper understanding. But exactly, in a national security state, it just lets lies and fraud and laziness grow. They want to make everything secret because they want to cover up all their screw-ups.
They want to make everything secret in part to avoid accountability.
Yeah. And then it's like a new title of nobility, too. It's like, oh, I have a security clearance.
Yeah, well, that's become so devalued now. I mean, unfortunately, a security clearance today does not mean that you're trustworthy. It means that you have accepted slavery.
Wow, that's a heavy statement.
Well, I tell you something. The threats that are being made to my colleagues today, they are being told that if they have a Twitter or if they have a Facebook post or if they are seen anywhere within 3 miles of a journalist, they will lose their security clearance.
They've tried to arrest members of the State Department that publicly at press conferences go talk to Fox News for 5 minutes and give their personal opinion about Kim Jong-un. I mean, it's like, we will arrest you for state secrets. I mean,
you and I are loyal dissidents, and one of the problems that our government has today is it does not understand that we are the canary in the coal mine. We are the loyal people saying, you have a problem here. And so they're killing the canary to have no warning, and that's a huge mistake.
But I agree with you, it's starting to turn around, but won't the entrenched bureaucracies and special interests and foreign interests, won't they pull off a huge false flag? Or have we exposed false flags so well now that it's into the vernacular that they are hesitant to use it?
No, they will have another false flag. In fact, the false flag I'm hearing about is a simulated Ebola attack in which they actually use biochemical weapons that dissipate, but then they pretend that it's Ebola and that it has been brought here by Saudi martyrs. Okay, so no, we have not reached the end of the false flag line. However, what we have reached is, I did my first graduate thesis on predicting revolution, and there's a difference between preconditions of revolution and precipitants. And I have posted a graphic on preconditions of revolution that exist in the USA today. Now, a precipitant is like the Tunisian fruit seller. My preferred precipitant is a soccer mom that tortures herself on the steps of Capitol Hill, and it appears on YouTube. But the bottom line is the next false flag could lead to a general strike across this country.
People really are not buying it. I mean, they just get caught. I talked to the military, and I'm not exaggerating. It was 50% of the military, enlisted or officers I talked to 10 years ago that were somewhat awake. 2 years ago, it was like 75%. It's like 90% now.
I agree with that. 100%.
That's why
the military, in fact, the military veterans, 22 of whom are committing suicide every single day, military veterans plus unemployed college kids plus unemployed old guys like me, in my demographic, the unemployment rate is closer to 40%. The real unemployment in the United States, according to shadowstats.com, is 22%.
Yep.
Okay? And if we all come together and you throw into that the soccer moms, I think you have the beginning of a revolution in the United States of America. And that's why I ran for president, to get an Electoral Reform Act that would put the public back in charge. And every single person running for the presidency, including Ron Paul, refused to engage because they wanted to keep their sugar bowl going.
Well, if you talk about, people like Colonel Schaefer, who has so much courage, they tried to throw him in jail for speaking out, made up stuff. They tried to... William Binney, at number 4 at the NSA, the director of one of their major programs, they've been trying to put him in prison. And they're now calling me up saying, listen, we're going to set you up and put you in prison. I haven't got to this yet on air, but, I mean, it's been multiple people just point blank saying we're going to come after you if you don't shut your mouth. And I don't think they understand. It's going to get to the point where I'm going to come after them, and I don't mean in a violent way. I mean, these roads go two ways here. You know what I mean?
I do. Unfortunately, I think they have the power to do more damage to you than we have to do to them. But if you were to disappear, I would be very pleased if your audience rose up and demanded habeas corpus. Because if Alex Jones goes off the air, people will notice. If I disappear, nobody will notice.
Well, it's just unprecedented how just... Do you think that the power structure feels cornered now, or does it feel arrogant?
First off, there's no such thing as one power structure.
Bunch of interest.
You have the FBI as multiple FBIs. I've posted a thing on how there's actually 7 CIAs. And so what you're probably dealing with is mid-level to low-level morons that do not have the approval of their senior agency heads.
Yeah, no, that's what I've been told by the Marines. Because I've dealt with State Department security forces, like just trying to go cover an Obama event, and running around. It's just, I don't know. I was like, I tell you, these guys, how are you doing this? How are you doing this to us? We've done nothing. We'll be right back to take some phone calls. Amazing interview.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-91-STEEL. 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
Our big story. Gun owners react as politicians continue to ban high-capacity magazines state by state.
I think that these weapons ought to be stopped.
Magazine restrictions have already happened in 9 states. Staffed with formal special operations personnel, GunMagWarehouse.com is the only company that specializes in gun magazines. GunMagWarehouse.com has the largest selection of the magazines you should stock up on. Go now to GunMagWarehouse.com before it happens in your state. Get it before you regret it.
You've heard about the essential qualities of iodine when it comes to your well-being, and you've read the opinions of top experts regarding this good member of the halogen family. Still, reports indicate that iodine is absent in sufficient amounts from the daily lives of countless people worldwide. Now, our extra-strength new nascent iodine formula is here, Survival Shield X2, leading the way into the next generation of super high-quality nascent iodine. InfoWars Life Survival Shield X2 is derived from 200+ million-year-old salt solutions found more than 7,000 feet below the Earth's surface. The result is a unique nascent iodine that is both concentrated and free of unwanted additives, genetically modified ingredients, and completely vegan. We even pre-screen our Survival Shield X2 iodine for radiation. Pure, clean, and sourced from deep within the earth, X2 nascent iodine is available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or call 1-888-253-3139.